with Ross over the phone. From his home in British Columbia, Canada. Our first question was, you come out of martial arts, what got you interested in mountain climbing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different in the sense that it's essentially a team sport. So for mountaineering to be safe, you need somebody else. Jiu-jitsu was always working against somebody. Something I really like about this new hobby is that now it's all about how can we keep each other as safe as possible, how can we watch out for each other, how can we get everyone up the mountain. Something one of the guides said that I thought was really good was mountaineering makes hiking a team sport because you can't do it by yourself. You have to be roped up. You don't have to, but if you want to be safe, you need somebody else there. So I think that's why this is kind of like the next step for me. I think that this also requires a lot more planning. Everything else I did before was just getting good at a skill and then signing up for a competition. So this is actually requiring, long-term planning. How do I save up for it? How do I talk to people? I'm going to try and talk to a few vet organizations to try and see if I can get some help sponsoring my way up to Denali. And other stuff like that. I already have Team Semper Fi. They've always been really good to me. Anything that I've decided I want to do, as long as it's sports related, they have my back and really took care of me. So, and it sounds like they're willing to work more with me in the future. They got me a lot of great gear that took me one step closer to Denali. So, yeah, I think the next step is really coordinating, putting all the pieces together, and finding my way up onto Denali.
We asked Ross, what would you recommend as a starting point for someone like yourself to get into mountain climbing? Is there something you used and liked in learning the ropes in this hobby? Do you have a recommend?
I would say, so I always have a book for everything. The book that helped me the most was Training for a New Alpinism. They had an amazingly well laid out.
Ross, could you repeat the book title and the author name? Briefly tells us what it did for you.
It's called Training for the New Alpinism. It's by Steve House. And I never felt like I was overtraining. They have a really great structure in terms of how much you should, each day, how much you should do each thing. And they have it broken down. They actually have one specifically for Rainier. That they were like, this is what a 54-year-old woman did when it was her first descent up Rainier.
That was interesting. I would like to move on into the actual meetup at Mount Rainier and the climb itself. You choose International Mountain Guide Service. Why? And your impressions of them.
Yeah, so I went with International Mountain Guides because Reddit said that they were the best. There's a few out there, but a lot of people said that they really like the training to be in the middle, that it gave them an opportunity to rest and recover and then learn the skills right before they use the skills to go up the mountain. And I personally like that a lot too. So I'm glad I went with them.
Ross, what day did you get there? And what was the routine in getting ready to climb the mountain?
So we arrived on Thursday. We introduced ourselves, we hung out for a minute, and then essentially we just dumped our pack. So you need about 60 pieces of gear. I think it was 58 or something like that, pieces of gear for the required list. You dump your bags. They have you hold up each piece of gear. They recommend a way to pack it so that you can pack all your gear into the bag as effectively as possible. And then they tell you to go get some rest and don't touch your pack, because they have it packed all nice and they know it fits well and they know all your gear's in it. So they don't want you to unpack it and check everything and then forget something and, not have your parka when you're up on the mountain.
Friday was what you had been waiting for. Again, the same question, what was the routine? We know you started in the park from Paradise. What did you experience on the way up to Camp Muir?
6, got some food, got some coffee, and then we all arrived at IMG at 8. Normally, we would get in the vans, and they would drive us up to Paradise, and we would all just go in the vans. But the park is still under COVID restrictions, so everyone had to take, separate cars, or if you didn't have a car there, then you could carpool up with someone. We get to the park around 10, and then we started hiking around like 10:30, which I kind of think was a little bit late. It was really, really hot, surprisingly, because it was really early in the season. Even the guides, they were very surprised at the temperature. It was kind of, it must have been like 15 or 16, and I was really hot. I was definitely overwarm, but by the end of the day, I was fine, but the beginning of the day was really toasty. So that was just going up to Paradise, which is 6 kilometers and like 1,400 meters of climbing. So we trekked on up to the Paradise. We would take a break every hour and a half for about 20 minutes to put sunscreen back on and get some food and water, and then head back up because I was thirsty. Like, it was so hot. I was sweating so much. Huge boots on, and I was wearing 250 gram smart wool. So yeah, I was definitely overdressed for the occasion. We got up there, it was fine, and then almost, within an hour and a half of us rolling in, a storm hit. So it wasn't too intense, but it made it hard to eat outside. It was very, very windy, and lots of snow. We had at least some snow every day of the entire trip, which was really nice.
Ross, so you arrived at Camp Muir. At this point, besides setting up and personal things, then you have training. Tells us a little bit about it.
The major things with climbing are obviously slipping and falling. So the first thing they had us do was put on some crampons, and they taught us, how to go uphill in crampons, how to walk downhill in crampons, how to traverse in crampons, and then they just had us walking up and downhill and traversing and making sure that everyone was comfortable with that, because the first line of not falling is walking appropriately. Then they had us take the crampons off. We grabbed our ice axes and we practiced self-arrest. They have us starting out pretty easily. Like, we would, slide down on our butt, and all we had to do was turn over and then kick into the ice. So the last one, you're sliding head first down the hill, and you have to self-arrest, and as soon as your body's righted, you kick in and complete the arresting of the fall, because the ice axe is just to slow you down. You're not actually stopped until your feet are kicked into the ground. So that was the second thing. Then they took us over, put our crampons back on, we all put our harnesses on, and we roped up. And then they taught us how to walk and turn corners and make sure that we were maintaining enough slack but not too much slack. And we practiced doing that on rope so that we were comfortable walking in the rope, paying attention to the rope. Then we threw our packs on and we headed up to high camp.
You set off for high camp. How far? How did that go?
That was Saturday that we went up to high camp. Saturday was when we woke up, we did the training. We woke up, ate breakfast, did the training, headed up to high camp. I think we were there around 14 or 15. So high camp wasn't that far. I think it was like 3 kilometers and 400 vertical meters. So it wasn't that far out, but it's right beneath the Deception Cleaver. So it's the last safe place that you can actually camp before you're on unstable glaciers or places where you're worried about rockfall. So the before you get on the mountain. And it was really beautiful. It had a great view. I had perfect cell phone reception there. I had 5Gs and full bars, so I could get back on my phone, and because I didn't have any reception at Camp Muir.
Ross, you're at high camp. I've heard it said that glaciers are treacherous, beautiful, and make their own sounds. Did you experience any of this?
It was kind of creepy. Like, I was walking out and I was just looking up at the summit, and there's this huge glacier that I have in a video again, that the guide was saying it probably weighs about as much as an apartment building. It was just an enormous piece of ice that was just sitting there. I'm just sitting there looking at it, and then you hear the deep cracking going along. Just like, is this a safe place to be? I know they say it's a safe place to be, but you're obviously on a very active and moving glacier at that moment, and it's definitely a little bit creepy.
I must ask, Ross, you are on the higher slopes of Mount Rainier. At some serious elevation, did you notice the altitude and lack of oxygen?
So the first day I felt totally fine. I was able to the pace was actually way too slow. Then the second day going up to high camp, I was definitely breathing a lot to try and keep up. I mean, my guide was breathing a bit too, but it wasn't the easy all day and not even notice kind of pace that it was before. Chalk that up to not being used to altitude, and then if I did more training at altitude. So we were just shy of 1,000 meters off at that point, some thinner air.
After many conversations with you, I know the push for the summit got canceled. This occurred at 12:30 a.m. because of high winds. You have great piece of video showing what David and yourself did. So what I would like, after the segment, could you just give us some general impressions of your experiences, which will conclude this story of your first serious climb?
Scene. I think it's about...
Well, let's see, I have a watch.
1 o'clock?
1:10 in the morning. Our summit bid just got canceled.
Like a half hour ago.
So we've decided we are going to go see what this weather is like. We're all geared up. You can see David over here, Gore-Tex, parka, sweet gloves, and I'm about to don my gauntlets as well. And we're gonna go outside and we're gonna pee in it.
I think the only thing I don't have on is my gaiters.
Right? That's literally the only way I could be.
Oh, and the glove and the mittens, but hopefully that's not. Hopefully
my ultimate.
Which way is the wind even coming from?
We're about to find out. Move the pack. Let's get out of here. I think you should get out first.
Okay, and then you'll get this zipper?
Yeah, I'll get this zipper on my way out. And we venture into the great unknown.
It's awesome out here.
Whoa! This is cool as fuck.
It's actually surprisingly clear.
I don't know how much you guys can see. It's beautiful out here. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about the rest of the sorry, I can't tilt my gloves. Holy shit.
Ross, final words about your hobby.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, the mountaineering it's not about going up that mountain at one time. It's the 5 times a week that you're out there running, or a couple times a week that you're lifting weight. It's about changing yourself so that you're better suited for the mountains. It's about making an excuse to make the right choice in your life instead of, just running because you feel like you have to. Now you're always doing something for that objective. I think that gives your life a sense of focus. I don't have goals like that. Yeah, when you just have to run every day, it gets boring. But when you have to run every day because, in the next year you're trying to go up a big mountain, makes it a lot easier. So, yeah, my next plan is Adams. I'm trying to see if anyone wants to do Adams with me. You can solo Adams. So instead of doing the normal route where you camp at the lunch table for a night, I'm trying to shoot up and down in one day. That's my goal.